The 1923 Season 2 finale is here. And if you thought Episode 6 was devastating, brace yourself. Episode 7 will leave you shattered. Spencer's fate hangs in the balance. Heartache for Elizabeth is unimaginable. And the Duttons are caught in a storm of violence, betrayal, and grief. Tragedy is coming for the Yellowstone Ranch, and no one is safe. Who will survive? Who will fall? And how will this chapter of the Dutton family story end? Let's get down to business in the most heartbreaking finale yet. Spencer Dutton has fought through war, the high seas, and betrayal. However, his greatest challenge is still to come. Episode 6 left him stranded on yet another train, struggling to reach Montana before it's too late. The odds are stacked against him. Danger isn't just waiting for him at the ranch, it's actively hunting him down. Donald Whitfield and Banner Creighton's men are lurking in the shadows, ready to strike before he can reunite with his family. But Spencer won't go down without a fight. In Episode 7, we'll finally see the high-stakes chase teased in the trailers, Spencer sprinting across a moving train, heart pounding, lungs burning. He isn't just running for his own benefit. He's fighting for his family, his legacy, and his survival. One of Donald's men is right behind him, armed and dangerous. Only one man escapes when a struggle breaks out in the most dangerous of locations. However, Spencer is fighting against time itself as well as assassins. He is just 2 days away from reaching Montana, as we learned in Episode 6. However, nature has other ideas. A brutal snowstorm is closing in, turning the roads to ice and leaving trains stranded. It's a storm that shouldn't even be happening in the middle of spring, making it seem like fate is trying to keep Spencer away from the ranch. With every moment that passes, the Duttons slip further into danger, and Spencer might not make it in time. But if he does, if he manages to fight through the storm, the killers, and the impossible odds, he won't be arriving to a peaceful homecoming. He'll be walking straight into a war zone. The train station will become a battlefield, the Yellowstone Ranch a fortress under siege. And before the night is over, the Duttons will pay a price in blood. The battle for the Dutton legacy is about to reach its blood-soaked peak. As the snowstorm intensifies, the walls are closing in on Jacob and Kara Dutton. They know Spencer is on his way, but they also know he won't arrive to a warm welcome. Instead, he'll be walking into a carefully laid trap. Donald Whitfield's grip on Montana has tightened, and his thirst for power is unmatched. Even though he is so close to annihilating the Duttons permanently, he will not allow them to regain their strength. At the end of Episode 6, Jacob and the sheriff waited anxiously at the train station, knowing full well that Spencer's arrival wouldn't be peaceful. The entire town is on edge, and the train station, once a symbol of reunions and new beginnings, has now become the stage for an all-out war. Whitfield's men have infiltrated the area. Their orders are clear: kill Spencer before he can ever set foot on Dutton land. But Spencer is no ordinary man. He is a warrior who is shaped by loss and war. He won't go down easily. The tense silence is broken by gunfire as soon as he steps off that train. Chaos explodes in the heart of Montana. The sheriff and his men return fire, but they're outnumbered. Civilians flee in terror as bullets tear through the air, turning the station into a battlefield. Spencer has no time to rest because his tireless journey has left him still exhausted. He must fight his way through the ambush, dodging bullets, taking down Whitfield's assassins with nothing but his instincts and sheer willpower. After that, a shot goes off. Someone falls. Someone we care about. The Duttons are about to pay the price for this war, which was always going to be high. As the dust settles, Spencer finally locks eyes with Jacob. The moment is bittersweet. He made it home, but at what cost? Spencer is aware that this is only the beginning because the train station is littered with bodies. The conflict has only just begun. The ranch will also soon be affected by the war. Meanwhile, back at Yellowstone, Kara Dutton isn't waiting for fate to decide her family's future. She knows that Whitfield won't stop until the Duttons are wiped off the map. As Jacob and Spencer fight for their lives at the train station, Kara prepares for the worst. She gathers every able-bodied man left on the ranch, arming them to the teeth. If Whitfield's men are coming, they won't find an easy target. The Duttons will become a fortress, and Kara, heartbroken yet unyielding, will stand at its gates, ready to defend it with everything she has. But even with all the preparations, even with all the fight left in them, the storm isn't just outside. It's inside, tearing the family apart. The Duttons have been through a lot of battles, but not all of them involved guns. They're fought in the depths of the human soul. While Spencer, Jacob, and the sheriff wage war at the train station back at the Yellowstone ranch, another battle is reaching its breaking point. This one is silent, unseen, and devastating in a way no gunfight ever could be. Elizabeth is drowning in grief, and there's no one left to pull her back. Jack Dutton's brutal death shattered her world. He was her husband, her future, the love she thought would carry her through life. And now, in an instant, he's gone. No more guffaws. No more whispered promises. There are no more hopes of a family unit. Just cold, cruel reality. The moment she heard the news, it was as if something inside her had been ripped away, leaving behind nothing but emptiness. But grief doesn't just settle. It grows, twisting into something even darker. The physical pain is in addition to the emotional pain. The weight of her sorrow is unbearable. She is betrayed by her body in the cruelest way possible. It takes its toll from the stress, heartbreak, and overwhelming loss. And then it happens. She loses the baby. A child that was supposed to be her last connection to Jack. A life that could have carried on his legacy and motivated her to continue. But now, it's gone too. In a cruel twist of fate, Elizabeth is left with nothing. The grief consumes her, turning into a crushing despair that leaves her barely able to move. Breathe. No words can soothe her. No comfort can reach her. Even Kara, who has been like a mother to her, doesn't know how to help. She sees the pain in Elizabeth's eyes, the distant, hollow stare of someone who has lost everything. And then comes the moment no one is ready for. As the storm rages outside, Elizabeth makes a decision. A decision no one saw coming, but one that feels inevitable. She can't live with this pain. She can't face a future without Jack. So she walks toward the edge, her mind clouded with sorrow, a gun in her hand, a single bullet, a final goodbye. But fate isn't finished with her yet. At the last possible second, someone finds her. Someone who refuses to let her go. Kara, maybe Spencer. Perhaps he returns just in time. Or maybe it's another hand that reaches for her, pulling her back from the brink. Whoever it is, their arrival changes everything. They remind Elizabeth that even in the darkest of nights, there is still a glimmer of light. But is it enough? Can she truly come back from this? The answer won't come easily. As the night stretches on, Elizabeth is left to wrestle with the unbearable weight of her loss. She is not the same woman she was before. And by the time morning comes, something inside her will have changed forever. She may have survived the night, but she is not the Elizabeth we once knew. Meanwhile, outside the walls of the ranch, the storm isn't letting up. The war is far from over. And as dawn approaches, the fate of the Dutton family will be decided not just by bullets and blood, but by the choices they make in the face of unimaginable loss. The storm is relentless, howling through the mountains like a beast hunting its prey. Snow thickens the air, blinding those caught in its wrath. And in the midst of it all, the Duttons prepare for the bloodiest battle yet. At the train station, the cold steel of revolvers is the only warmth in an otherwise frozen battlefield. Jacob Dutton, aged but unbroken, stands his ground with the sheriff and a handful of trusted men. They know it's coming. They've been expecting it. When the first shot cracks through the air, it all begins. Donald Whitfield's men move in like shadows, their figures barely visible through the blizzard. But the Duttons are not easy prey. A flurry of gunfire erupts, each bullet carving through the storm, finding its mark. Spencer arrives just in time, his boots slamming against the train station's wooden planks, his rifle locked and loaded. He spent too long running, too long fighting battles far from home. But now he's here, and he will fight for his family. The clash is merciless. Men drop into the snow, their blood staining the white ground in violent contrast. Jacob fires with precision, but age has slowed him. He isn't the fighter he once was, and every time he reloads, he's a second too late. The sheriff fights beside him, gritting his teeth as bullets graze past. But it's Spencer who turns the tide. A soldier by nature, a warrior by necessity. He moves with purpose, cutting through the chaos, taking down the hired guns sent to slaughter his family. But for every enemy that falls, another takes his place. Donald Whitfield has no shortage of killers willing to do his bidding. Then, through the blizzard, comes the man himself. He doesn't fight, doesn't draw a weapon. He simply watches. He knows this war isn't just about blood, it's about power. He's already done the real damage. Back at the ranch, Kara and the remaining family members brace for an attack of their own. The homestead is surrounded. Shadows move beyond the windows. Boots crunch against the snow-covered porch. The doors are barred, the rifles ready, but no one is ever truly ready for war. The first breach is swift. A shattering window, a burst of gunfire. Kara fires back with precision, protecting the only home she's ever known. Elizabeth, barely alive from the night before, finds herself in the middle of yet another storm. The pain inside her is unbearable. But something new awakens a fury, a need to survive. Maybe she has nothing left to live for. But she won't die easily. The fight stretches into the night. Bodies fall in the snow, blood mixing with ice. The Duttons refuse to break. But neither does Whitfield. He's like the winter itself, cold, unfeeling, and determined to crush them under his weight. Then, just as the night reaches its darkest hour, something changes. A new sound cuts through the chaos hoofbeats. The arrival of a force unseen in this battle. Reinforcements, allies, or perhaps something worse. The war is not over. The fate of the Duttons is still undecided. And as the storm rages on, the only thing certain is that by the time the sun rises, the world will never be the same. The night stretches endlessly, the storm refusing to relent as chaos consumes the Duttons. At the ranch, gunfire echoes through the valley, drowning out the howling wind. The bodies of Whitfield's men litter the snow, but their numbers seem endless. For everyone that falls, another emerges from the darkness. Kara reloads with shaking hands, her breath visible in the frigid air. She has fought for this family before, but never like this, never with death breathing down her neck at every turn. Elizabeth, weak but defiant, grips a shotgun she can barely hold. Her mind is in a fog, lost somewhere between grief and survival. Jack is gone. His absence, a gaping wound in her soul. But there's no time to mourn. Survival demands she push forward. And yet, there is only so much a grieving heart can take. The weight of it all presses against her chest, suffocating her. The bloodshed, the loss, the overwhelming despair, it all reaches a breaking point. Outside, Spencer fights like a man possessed. The moment his boots hit the snow at the ranch, he doesn't hesitate. He moves with deadly precision, cutting down Whitfield's men one by one, his rifle steady, his resolve unshaken. He has spent years honing his skills on the battlefield. And now, at long last, he's putting them to use where it matters most, defending his family. But the battle is not just physical. It's a war of attrition, a test of endurance. Whitfield doesn't need to win tonight. He only needs to wear the Duttons down, force them to the edge of despair until they have nothing left to give. His men keep coming, wave after wave, draining the last reserves of fight the Duttons have. The battle is endless, and exhaustion seeps into their bones. Then the final blow lands not with a bullet, but with a scream. Inside the house, Elizabeth crumbles to the ground, a piercing cry escaping her lips. Blood pools beneath her, staining the wooden floorboards. A cruel truth settles over her like a suffocating weight. She is losing the baby. The grief she had barely held at bay comes crashing down an unbearable wave that threatens to consume her. The pain is unlike anything she's ever felt. raw and relentless, tearing through her with merciless force. The child she dreamed of the last piece of Jack she had left slipping away. Kara rushes to her side, her heart breaking as she watches Elizabeth tremble in agony. But there's no time to grieve. There isn't enough time to process the events. The enemy is still at their doorstep, and they have no choice but to keep fighting. A cruel symphony of despair is created when the sounds of gunfire and Elizabeth's sobs combine. Spencer feels his heart break when he hears the screams outside. He wants to run to Elizabeth, to be by her side, but he knows he can't. If he stops now, they all die. He has to fight, no matter how much it kills him inside. Then, just when it seems the night will never end, a new sound rips through the storm horses, riders. And something else. Gunfire, but not from Whitfield's men. A new force has entered the battlefield. A group of riders with rifles drawn enters through the blizzard. Whitfield's men turn in confusion, their ranks breaking as the newcomers descend with unrelenting fury. The tide shifts in an instant. Whatever the attackers are, they fight with the kind of precision and focus that only experienced warriors have. For the first time, Whitfield's forces falter. This was unexpected for them. They weren't prepared. And suddenly, the Duttons have hope. However, hope is fragile. The damage is already done as the adversary falls. The ranch is in ruins. Bodies lie scattered in the snow. And inside, Elizabeth slips further into unconsciousness. The baby has vanished. And with it, whatever fight she had left. Spencer stumbles into the house, his body battered, his hands bloodied. He reaches for Elizabeth, pulling her into his arms, but she doesn't respond. The weight of loss settles over him like a crushing force. They fought so hard. They survived. But at what cost? The storm begins to calm down as dawn approaches. However, there is only devastation and no relief inside the ranch. Even though the battle is over, the war is far from over. And as Spencer stares into the lifeless eyes of the men they've slain, he realizes one chilling truth. Donald Whitfield is still out there. And he isn't finished yet. The ranch is not warmed by the rising sun in the morning. Instead, it casts a cruel glow over the wreckage left behind. The once proud Dutton land is now a bloody battlefield with bodies all over the place. The wind has settled. The blizzard has passed. But the devastation remains. Survival has never been more expensive. Inside the house, silence hangs heavy in the air. Elizabeth lies motionless, her face pale, her breath shallow. The life she carried within her is gone, ripped away by the storm of violence and grief. She had fought to hold on, to keep the last piece of Jack alive. But fate was never on her side. She now only feels empty space as she drifts in and out of consciousness. The love that once filled her heart has been swallowed by sorrow. Spencer brushes a strand of her hair from her face as he kneels beside her, his hands shaking. He had killed without hesitation after fighting with everything he had. But none of it mattered. He was unable to shield her from this. His chest is heavy with the burden of failure, pressing down like an unbearable force. He had dreamed of coming home, of reuniting with his family, of making things right. But this is not the homecoming he imagined. Instead of joy, he has returned to ruins. Kara stands by the doorway, watching the scene unfold with tear-filled eyes. She had always been the most durable member of the family, the rock that held the clan together. However, even she is finding it difficult to bear the weight of so much loss. The first Jack, now the infant. How much more can they endure? She has seen war, suffered heartbreak. But this is something else entirely. Jacob sits outside, staring at the land he has fought so hard to protect. His body is weary, his spirit even more so. He has always known that being a Dutton means living in constant battle, but he never expected it to come to this. The war isn't over. Despite the fact that Donald Whitfield has lost this battle, he is still out there, awaiting his next move. And the Duttons. They are more vulnerable than ever. The riders who arrived in the nightstand in the distance, their presence still a mystery. They had come when the Duttons needed them most. But who sent them? Their leader, a hardened man with sharp eyes and a rifle still smoking from the fight, steps forward. He removes his hat, revealing the face of a man Spencer never expected to see.